Hi there folks, Matt Hayson with another property update, and there's plenty going on in the property market, which always is the case when we're seeing the market transition, which is certainly happening in Sydney at the moment. Now, last week I spoke about the auction clearance rate and how data is reported and recorded back to the consumer, and last Saturday was no different. The auction clearance rate coming through at 65% on Saturday afternoon, and the media reporting, gee, the market could be shifting, it's down from 70% the week prior, but again, we're still seeing a high degree of sales not reported or recorded in that 65% clearance rate. So if we apply the unreported sales into that clearance rate and assume that the majority hadn't sold, I'd suggest that the clearance rate in Sydney is closer to 50%. Now, a 50% auction clearance rate really does suggest that this is a buyer's market, and that's not a bad thing. That's how the real estate cycles work. Obviously, sometimes it favours sellers, but in this current climate, it certainly is favouring buyers. I just think it's better if, from an agent's perspective and also the media's perspective, if we report this a little bit more transparently, so that if you're bringing your home onto the market, you can best prepare how you approach it and also how you go about purchasing a property in the current climate. Now, also during the week, RBA left interest rates on hold at 1.5%, which is no problem, that was predicted. However, that's now 19 months, or the longest period in Australian history that interest rates have been kept at record lows. Most market commentators are suggesting that the next move will be an increase of somewhere around 25 basis points towards the end of the year. Now, this week I wanted to share some of the patterns we're seeing emerge and evolve in the market, which I thought could be of interest. Starting with buyers, it's as though a playbook's been given to every buyer in the marketplace at the moment about how they go about purchasing, and they're following it step by step. So one thing that's certainly recognised, I think, for a lot of buyers is there's less urgency in the market and property prices are not increasing. So they're using this additional time very wisely. It's not uncommon for us to see a buyer come through any one of our inspections 4 or 5 times and still not make an offer, which is quite unusual. The reason being is they're probably looking at 4 or 5 different properties with the same level of intensity, and they're looking for the best value. They're very selective about properties right now and less willing to compromise, and in many instances they're offering a price below the guide just to see if a seller might take the bait and operate with them. And that's a new phenomenon which is starting to evolve as well. No longer are buyers adding 10 or 15 or 20% onto a guide. It's quite the contrary. Some buyers are now actually saying it's better value below the guide, and some sellers are actually recognising that and moving and meeting the market. So right now, a lesson also for sellers: if you do have a property on the market, you need to understand what's going on. You're either a property that's well priced and engaging buyers, or you're one of these properties which is maybe a little bit overpriced and you're making other properties look like good value. So make sure you get that right. Now, ultimately, when a buyer is making an offer, the prices that we're still seeing reflect a stable market. What we're not seeing anymore is really that competitive, spirited bidding at auction and property prices selling well above where market value might be perceived. So all in all, this is some of the best buying conditions we've seen in the last several years, and I'm seeing more and more sellers willing to meet the market. Which leads us into this week, where we've got a great selection of homes open for inspection for the very good buying market out there that represent great value, and we look forward to seeing you guys out and about. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you next week.